This is the South End, or perhaps the South End we all know, the pubs, the piers, the prawns. Musically, South End's always been a bit basic as well. Just pub rock, which is variations of R&B, sweaty and beer-stained and leering through a 5 o'clock shadow. Names like Dr. Feelgood and Mickey Jupp, the Kersal Flyers, Kersal's over there by the way, as well as Procolarum and Robin Trower. But the new waves washed a lot of grease away from the South End music scene and left in its wake a new breed of musician. The new generation would like to forget the phone book and bury the traditional South End music reputation deep beneath the mud.
20th century. 20th century.
This week we take a trip to the Far East. On our journey from inner London, the first stop has taken us to Chigwell. This band is Naked Lunch, and we're just in time for a late breakfast. Naked Lunch are just one of a crop of futurist bands that have emerged in the last year and a half. Tony Mayo plays keyboards and sings.
We did have a few other names which we thought of, but they weren't very good. They were a little bit corny, such as Sons of Perdition, which sort of reeked of sort of black magic-y overtones, because we thought it'd be a bit haunting, but we changed our minds for Naked Lunch. We started this sort of band because we liked this sort of music. In 1979 you had Gary Newman going around playing his sort of stuff, but you couldn't really dance to it, and you couldn't really get involved into it to a certain extent. There was no real depth, and you had punk stuff which was going on and getting a little bit boring and monotonous. So we tried this, and it's worked. The term futurist, which actually has got labelled onto the scene, originates from Sound's paper, which started up a futurist chart back in 1980, and that's where it actually came from. They started the word futurist, and then the word spread, because before that there was lots of different words like electro, disco, Bowie clones, Blitz kids and futurists, and that one just stuck.
Talk of modern synthesizer sounds and art school fashion hardly conjures up the idea of the South End triangle. Its three corners being Basildon, Canvey Island and South End itself. Music from Essex has generally been the exact opposite of the concoction Naked Lunch have cooked up in the kitchen. Throughout much of the 60s and the 70s, this was the kind of sound the South East produced. Basic R&B, as prescribed by Dr. Feelgood.
I wanna live the way I like. Sleep all the morning, go and get my fun at night. Things ain't like that here. Working just to keep my fingers clear. She said, last time that I thought
Along the seafront and in the pubs and clubs of Southend and Canvey, the area's reputation for gritty R&B was born, producing outfits like Dr. Feelgood, the Kurzel Flyers and Eddie and the Hot Rods. Mickey Jupp and his band were also local heroes.
Well, pub rock, there you go. It's tap your foot, have a good time, and that's what R&B and rock and roll is all about. And various bands locally got in on that circuit in London. And I at some stage, I think maybe, well, they're coming from Southend, there must be an R&B band. As to why, I mean, it's not a sort of big, it's just Southend-on-Sea, 30 miles from London. It's the southeast of England, high employment rate, etc. It's not the pits of the earth where everybody goes around saying, oh, I woke up this morning with the blues, man.
In the early 60s, Mickey Jupp and his band had no difficulty finding places to play locally, but gradually, over the years, that's changed.
Well, within 3 miles of the town centre, there was maybe a half a dozen gigs going on every night of the week. Around 1967, hadn't all closed up, but this one was only operating one night a week, and that was only open a couple of nights maybe, and this one had closed down altogether. And I think the pubs were just going through the initial resurgence, not resurgence, that's the wrong word, because it was the first time, of the brewers putting money into pubs to do them over and make them nice, and music and young kids were, out. Discos were just starting. Over the past 10 years now, there have been about, well, I think only one rock and roll gig in this town, and that's closed as of about a month ago. This one now, the 06, is a relatively new one, and where all the local bands have really only got a chance to play.
Of course, the area's musical tradition isn't giving up without a struggle. Young bands like Samurai try to keep the tough sound going. They choose heavy rock over R&B, and it's from this garage in Basildon that the riffs continue to ring out.
John and myself being brothers, obviously we'd get together and it was easy. And Martin was a friend that we'd known for, must have been about 18 years, 17 years. And it was just the fact that we were so close together. And it really was just a street band thing, It started as a bit of an hobby. And it started to get serious once we found out that, there was a few people enjoying what we were playing. And it just went from there.
Why was it you decided on heavy rock music?
I think more than any other kind of music, that's what we've been brought up with. And that's the music we prefer.
Even swimming against the current tide, Samurai still hold out hopes of emulating another heavy metal local boy made good, Robin Trower, and of putting their version of the Basildon sound on the map.
I love Basildon. I love it. I love the place, I love the people. I've got so many friends here that said if you don't do it, they're going to give me a working. Because they've bought all the badges and they think, well, we've done it for a reason, we want to see you up there, Because I don't want to walk around with the badges on looking for twins. So we owe a lot of people to do it.
But so far, success has escaped them, and in the great rock and roll tradition, they haven't given up their day jobs. Drummer Mike Dowling continues as a car sprayer, while guitarist Martin Burrows and brothers John and Trevor Pattenden are still foundation pilers. At this time, it seems that even finding local gigs is a real problem.
We had the Double Six up the road, which was one of the major places in Basildon for bands to go and play. Recently it shut down, which was a bit of a blow for us because we was sort of resident band and we got in well.
Why did it close?
Change of management, and it's just turned into a pub for drinkers.
The problem for Samurai and for the remaining tough bands from the southeast is that many local teenagers just aren't interested in sweat and grease anymore. The trendy and, till recently, exclusive electro-disco scene has seeped out from London and, having grabbed the attention of Essex kids, has left the old ways high, dry and lonesome. Denim sales plummet as in comes the flamboyant flash fashions and music of Spandau Ballet, Visage and, not surprisingly, David Bowie. Long-time fans of this scene used to have to commute into London to be part of the action, but gradually they've pulled together their own branch of futurism in the southeast. Gary Turner was one of the original commuting futurists. He now organises this regular disco at a club called Crocs in nearby Rayleigh, and he also runs a small clothes shop, Pin-Ups, near the centre of Southend, to provide the right clothes to go with the hot new music.
And we was going to places like Blitz and that, but obviously on a Tuesday night we had to get up for work, you know, next day, and a lot of people, if we went with a crowd, sometimes, you know, you get turned away. So we thought, you know, we could do something down here. So in the end, we just started up, you know, using local clubs and pubs and things. We used the club, you know, a long way from the town centre that was having a bad night, and we used that on a Wednesday. And we just went on from there. That didn't last very long. And after a little gap, we went up above a pub in Southend, and it's a gay pub, so there's no hassle from you know, people saying about your dress or anything, you know. So we was all right then. We was lucky. You know, we sort of started off with 50 people going there, ended up with sort of 120, and we needed space to move on.
There are no signs of the London look being watered down in Southend. Gary and his customers take it as seriously as the most ardent Blitz kid. But pace setting is harder for futurists in Essex than for the students, hairdressers and musicians who stroll stylishly round London streets. It's not so easy to make the look count in Southend High Street and clock on at work dressed like this.
There's nothing worse than going out and you don't quite know what you look like. You have to ask people's opinions all the time. That's, you know, wrong. It's nice to be able to put everything on, you've got everything there, and to walk out and think, I look good. Do you know what I mean? And everyone else thinks they look good as well. So, you know, and if someone says, oh yeah, you look nice tonight, then that's nice. Do you know what I mean? There's no bitchiness or anything like that.
You have much better time when you do that.
Sometimes you get people giving you funny looks and all that, or they might say something, or you might get a bit of trouble, but you just sort of walk away from it.
What type of people give you the trouble?
Don't know. Anybody, could be anyone.
People that don't, I don't know, really shallow people, I suppose. But just, you know.
People without open minds.
I work at Lloyd's Bank in London. I have my hair the same, you know, but I'll tone the clothes down a bit, you know, if I don't like it there.
About the makeup?
Just a little bit, you know, not a lot of makeup.
It's a bit messy at the moment. No, I'll just wear or do what I want to do at work. It's, you know, down to me, and if it stops me from getting on in the firm, it's only down to me and no one else.
Work at the Falls, though, you must get some stick, surely. But...
Oh yeah, they take the mickey or come out with some snidey remarks, but you just get used to it, just brush it aside.
What's brought about this generation's rejection of the basic sound of Southend? How come they've embraced the weird and exotic tastes and trappings of electro-pop? Is it just a symptom of being in London's shadow? Naked Lunch reckon that the reasons are deeper than just following the photos in glossy magazines.
The Clash wrote songs about the unemployed when unemployment was just starting. And now that people are unemployed, they don't really want to go out to be reminded that they're unemployed. When you go out to sort of forget things for escapism. It's all part of enjoyment. And you can't really enjoy yourself if people are saying to you you're in a very bad state and you shouldn't be happy at all.
We don't write songs about unemployment. I mean, they're basically arty songs. They're not trying to actually state something. Like with the punks, people were writing songs for them. They were writing songs for the unemployed, for people like that, you know. Whereas we were writing songs just to give people enjoyment through music, basically, you know.
Another reason why dance electronics has come so easily to Essex could be because disco and jazz funk had already paved the way. Chris Hill, one of the small number of DJs at the centre of the jazz funk scene in the southeast, is based at the Goldmine Club on Canvey Island. His fans were already used to dressing up in bizarre and crazy costumes, so they needed little selling on the even more exotic fashion available in futurism.
Yeah, the kids are getting sort of clothes But the thing is, what they're getting, the sort of clothes they're getting, are the high street market ones like Topshop. And what you've got is a crossover with the new romantic clothes with the soul clothes. And you find the soul girl image is very much the sort of lacy collars, the trousers down to the knee, which is very much sort of the old blitzy style clothing. But there has been a definite crossover.
Meanwhile, the veterans on the South End scene began to worry about the new arrivals. They resented the disco fans' casual approach to their fashion.
You know, sort of, you try and keep it underground, but when it does break, obviously, you know, it loses a lot of its initial, you know, excitement for people. You get people who wear sort of bondage with pirate shirts and, you know, sort of things that just don't look right, that just haven't taken the time, haven't got, you know, or haven't got any knowledge of what they really should look like.
But one group of people who can't afford to be snobbish about the influx of ex-funk fans are the successful local band Depeche-Mode. Their music is a blend of the two styles, electronic futurism and disco.
Let's all get together, come and hold my hand. Baby, it's a bright new day.
Both camps, the real futurists and the ex-funksters, buy their records. And it's this combined following that got their first 2 records into the charts.
Get together right now. Yeah, let's get together.
Hey, listen, you're on top of the pops. All right, congratulations.
When we originally started, we had a bass guitar, rhythm guitar and synthesizer. Then we just gradually discarded our guitars for synthesizers. It was just a natural progression. We just liked the sounds, it was good.
Come on everybody, won't you gather around? Listen what we're trying to say.
But the name Depeche-Mode comes from a French magazine called Dépêche. Mode is just the word for fashion in French. Depeche-Mode. And we just decided we liked the sound of that name. And we chopped off the accent and we just kept the pronunciation.
Maybe I can show you just how.
Depeche-Mode show just how much futurism has changed now it's hit Essex. They don't fit into the London futurist pattern. Until the middle of this year, when they became musicians full-time, they lived ordinary lives in Basildon. Andrew Fletcher worked for an insurance company. Martin Gore had a job in a London bank. Vince Clarke did a series of casual jobs. And Dave Gahan, the group's singer, was at Technical College in Southend. They think that their music and their style spring just as naturally from the area as R&B and heavy rock did.
7.
For people our age living in Basildon, there's not a lot to do really, not enough. It's basically just discotheques, and there's a pool room, and you've got to be a member. Apart from the discos, there's nothing much at all. Even though I still think it's a good town to live in. There's not much difference with living in a town to what there is, say, living in London. In a way it's better, I think. Like you're away from the hustle of London, and you're still not too far away to know what's going on in London.
Dave Gahan got into futurism in the same way that the hardcore fans like Gary Turner did, by commuting to trendy London clubs from mums in Basildon.
Yeah, I did go into a few clubs. Blitz, Studio 21. Used to hang around with a bunch from Southend who were all club goers. We went out Saturday nights, Friday nights, and then we started up the club, The Cliff, a pub in Southend with Gary Turner.
He has got one eye different colour.
Although the group took both their name and their original musical style from electro disco, gradually they've put more and more of the jazz funk beat into their music.
Oh yeah, well I mean lately I've been writing a lot more, well not funk, it's more sort of disco, you know, blatant disco kind of songs. The kind of style with nice melodies on that. I mean we still like to maintain a nice melody that would be sort of interesting to listen to, but using sort of funky type rhythms.
This blend of futurism with disco has been so successful that where other local bands are struggling to find venues to play, Depeche-Mode can take the pick of the clubs, pubs and discos in the area.
No one was interested in the music when we first started. We really had to sort of struggle to find gigs. But now there's a lot more places. You know, everyone wants electronic bands to play there 'cause it's more popular.
You know, if people want to dress up, it's okay. If people want to copy other people, I think it's all right. You know, I mean, I don't really agree with people being, you know, the original punks or the original new romantics or anything. You know, if they want to enjoy themselves and dress up and look nice, it's okay. I think.
They were packed. I mean, Crocs has always been packed.
Yeah,
it's just
that you notice a change in people, whereas before sort of Spandau Ballet and that were on the telly, groups like that were dressed up. It would just be a select sort of crowd that had been around for a long while before, you know, and doing it before. It's just that it'd been broadened to the public, and they thought it was, you know, they like it, you know, they say, right, we're going to dress up. I mean, it happened with punk. The punk was just the same thing.
Since the beginning of the year, Saturday night has been Glamour Club night, and depeche-mode have appeared here regularly. So has Albert. He's the crocodile.
I think it's just as much fashion up this way as there is in London. Even more so if you walk around Southend, you see more people dressed up in Southend than you do in London.
Yeah.
Just 17, but I'm going to try and be 18 if I get in tonight.
I'm an insurance underwriter.
Can you dress like that to work?
Well, I wouldn't, because I mean it's like saying, would you wear a dress suit, you know, to go to your job? You wear what you need to wear for the occasion.
I'm unemployed.
Yeah. How easy is that for you to carry on the look when you ain't got the money?
Not very easy. I usually go around second-hand shops and pick up what I can.
A concert at Crocs is a far cry from the exclusive London gigs played by bands like Spandau Ballet, where the fans simply stood around and admired one another. The audience here have injected some of the fun of funk into the arty world of futurism. But although disco futurism may be thriving now, in a year or so the Southeast may have moved on from this style of music too, in the same way it moved on from R&B and heavy metal. For already, the hardcore fans put off by the disco bandwagon jumpers are looking for something new.
I'd probably go for more classic style clothes, you know, things that have always been in, always, you know, always look smart, you know, because most of the things, the pirate things or whatever, they're all things that have lasted 6 months at the most and they've gone out, they've not stayed. You can't sort of go in your wardrobe a year later and sort of wear them because they look so dated. It's such a miserable time really, isn't it, for most people? They're all worried about things. It just makes a nice escape for people, just to go out and have a good time on a Saturday night.